The Governor, Ralph Darling, in August 1826, honoured Captain Patrick Logan with discovering the Logan River. Sadly, the infamous Patrick Logan was known to be a vicious tyrant among the convicts, and he certainly was no friend to the indigenous community. To this day, his murder remains a mystery. It really is a whodunit story. Convict or Aborigines, no one really knows. From the rail river crossing at Meadowbrook all the way down to the estuary in Redland Bay is what we call our stretch of the Logan River. All manner of vessels plied their trade along these reaches, including of course that crafty old steamship the Walrus, a floating sugar mill and small rum distillery. Its trade of Bosun Bill's beverage was thought not to be entirely legitimate. To the early pioneering settlers, the Logan River was a lifeline. It became a hive of industry. Initially, it was the timber getters sourcing that all-important lumber along these shorelines for construction. Hardwood timbers with such excellent building material qualities. Once harvested, these timber logs were floated downstream on the outgoing tides to Brisbane sawmills and construction sites elsewhere. That's Slacks Creek in front of us there. It's where it discharges into the Logan River. This is an area that was used for marshalling the logs and the assembly of narrow rafts. The rafts were laced together in a long line before they snaked their way downstream. Skillfully and courageously, these raftsmen manoeuvred and navigated their rafts through the many twists and turns on outgoing tides, sometimes within floodwaters. Riding on their floating cargo in those dangerous conditions may have been an advantage to their rapid progress downstream, but it was also a hazard, putting their lives at risk. It is likely that not all rafters would have survived those precarious voyages. The natural progression of land being cleared by logging is that it gave way to new settlers taking up allotments for farming and grazing along each side of the river. By the mid-1860s, as the communities grew, the nearby township of Beenleigh, just south of the river, also grew, creating the need for river crossings. Several punt ferries along the river were established. Alberton, Bethania, now also known as Eaton's Landing, and Waterford are examples. This old photo is of a punt ferry crossing at Alberton Sugar Mill. Here you can see some of the mill workers who no doubt made daily use of that facility. This, another old picture, illustrates the ferry crossing between Loganholme and Beenleigh. Midstream you can see the pile driver structure, suggesting work on the road bridge had begun. The road bridge opened in July 1931, exactly 2 years before I was born. It was opened and in service before both the Sydney Harbour Bridge and Brisbane Story Bridge. Once a toll bridge, now simply a river crossing for pedestrians and cyclists to travel leisurely between its colourful spans. Walking within its iconic frame, I try to imagine the industrial activities during its construction. The blacksmith with his portable furnace heating the multitude of large rivets to red-hot readiness, retrieving them from the furnace with long-handled tongs, then throwing these red-hot rivet projectiles skyward to be caught so deftly in mid-air by the riveter, then to be hammered through pre-drilled holes. Such dangerous and amazing skills. If it had been a sport, they would have won gold medals. The composite fabricated steel frame members bear witness to design innovation, no doubt born out of necessity to make do with the only steel sections available at that time. The main diagonal members riveted together using a multitude of criss-cross ties are an example, this being necessary to achieve the extreme fibre properties required for its strength. It is this lace-like lattice that makes our historic Red Bridge attractively special. The bridge is narrow and was not without its hazards. The sudden approach to the bridge was on a curve. If heavy haulage came thundering down from the north when you were on the southern approach, it could be very disconcerting. The southern span bears witness to my concern. Substantial impact damage to the frame members is still evident, as you can see here. Looking downstream to the 6 lanes of solid concrete with the M1 motorway traffic hurrying by as its backdrop, our Red Bridge looks just fine. elegantly reminding us of times with less haste. Constructed with little pomp or ceremony, it stands here in retirement, proudly welcoming all to Logan City. Over the years, this old bridge has served us well. Now resplendent in its new Waratah red coatings, this remarkable old bridge stands in memory to honour those industrious early settlers.